Hi, so what I got here is the SC Johnson Scrubbing Bubbles tablets for your toilet. So you can see there it's a light blue. Now I'm going to flush it and then it's going to be darker. And what I'm going to show you is also the tablet itself and also what's in the tank. So let me go ahead and flush this and show you just how dark it is. So I'm going to try to zoom in, but you can see the light color. Now I'm simply going to flush. And when I flush, you'll see there's dark blue that rushes down. And it's going to settle in. Now, my toilet does have the ring of grime, and that's from the hardware that eats in at the porcelain. So that's what causes the grime there. Now, this thing is filling up, so as it fills up, I want to show you the tank here. So I'm going to remove the tank. So removing the tank, you can see that the tablet I have is actually in that corner there. So it's right in that corner that I've dropped in. And these things don't necessarily stain the inside of the tank too badly. But you'll notice as it's dissolving, it actually dissolves in the bottom and the corner. So when you flush, it's not as uniform. You know, the darker aspect is in the initial flush, but not continuously dark, as you go up the water. So it's dark at the bottom, but not dark at the top. Now, as far as keeping it clean, I want to say there's a hint of smell of ammonia, like a very small hint. Now, the way the tablet is, so these are the SC Johnson. So the tablet is about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to pour it out here. So you can take a look at the tablet itself. So that's how the tablet looks. It's a dark blue initially, and it's about 1/2 inch thick. So the diameter is 1.5 inches, and this thing lasts about, I want to say, it says 4 weeks, but obviously it depends on how many members of your household and how many flushes you do, per day. But I would say it'll last probably 3 to 4 weeks if you have 2 to 3 people in your household. Now let me flush again and show you how it looks. So I'm gonna take the lid off and try to do it simultaneously. So here I have the lid. so that's the water there. That's the water, in the tank. And I am going to flush. And you can see that it's not going to be as dark because it took, quite some time. So that's the color right there. And then you can see how it's gathering in the corner there. So that's what I mean by the water, disperses. But it is close to where the outlet of the water comes down. So the main thing I was concerned about is I don't want it to be damaging to the rubber pieces. So if it was Clorox or something, it would definitely make the rubber brittle, as far as where the flap is that lets the water come out. So I don't want that. So luckily the water itself does not smell bleachy. And if you look at the ingredients, it doesn't really give you a good sense of what the ingredients actually are. In fact, it's very vague. It says cleaning agent, pH adjuster, fragrance, binders, dye, and then it'll say SC Johnson formula number 354291. So that doesn't tell you anything about exactly what goes into this. Now, I will say that it is not bleach, but it does seem like it's a slight hint of pneumonia. There's a fragrance to it. It doesn't smell bad. I think it's worth trying. It doesn't seem like it permanently stains too badly. Now you'll see that it's not dissolved yet. So they do say let it sit for 10 minutes between flushes and stuff like that. So you can see, like, if I release this right now, the blue stuff is gonna go rushing down the flapper. So maybe I should just do it and show you. So you can see the tablet is dissolving in the corner there. but the dye itself has not dispersed throughout the tank of the water, right? So, what are these things worth, the $5-6 or so? Now, I will have the link in the description area so you can buy exactly what I have. They try to use the branding with the scrubbing bubbles. So, just to get you to buy it from a well-known kind of brand. You can see right now the dye. I'm just going to flush it so you can see the dye rush under the flapper. You see how it closed fast, so the water isn't necessarily blue. So, I mean, it's questionable whether it actually washes. I mean, I don't necessarily think it helps all that much for the money. And, my whole thing is that whether it softens the water so that ring that I have doesn't come back as quickly. That the hard water doesn't eat away at the porcelain, causing that, ring, to be there as frequently. So it seems to help a little bit in that manner. I mean, I don't know if it's worth that, $5, for the box. Maybe it is. So I've been trying it out. I think it's, worth trying. As you notice with my tank, it doesn't permanently stain it. So you could see right now, the dye itself is gathering, basically in the corner. That's where you're supposed to put it. Whereas when I drop it in, yes, you flush it to empty the water and then you drop it in that corner. I'll use a little stick to also move it in that corner so that it doesn't, go into the middle of the flapper. Or you could, put it on the other side, but I just like the open end where I could, move the stick. So, again, let me zoom in on this tablet here just to give you a better look so you know what you're buying. And, around the box, basically it says it's drop-ins, helps keep your toilet bowl stain-free. I think it helps a little bit, like maybe for a week or two. It doesn't double the amount of time. Sometimes you wish it would double the amount of time for, in between cleanings, but that's not necessarily the case here. So, there's the directions. It says, drop it into the corner, so I did exactly that in the corner. Once again, here's the ingredients, which is not very descriptive. Keep out of children. don't have your dog, licking out of the bowl. And it does come in, pieces of 5 scrubbing bubbles. And I will have the link in the description area, like so. And I should wait 10 minutes, but you can see, what's happening there. The dye is gathering. And it does mix, believe it or not. Eventually it does mix, in 10 minutes, making the water a little bit darker. Overall, just like I did in the beginning of this video. Now this blue water is very light because I didn't give it time to, dissolve, which is the 10 minutes. But that's what the first flush was for. Now I'm going to wait 10 minutes and come back and show you another flush, just so you could see, whether the dye does settle and then like a darker flush. So there it is with the water, and I'm going to come back and film it after 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm back after 20 minutes. So what you'll notice here is that a lot of the dye has loosened a little bit more, but it actually did not mix with the water. So the reason why you're putting it into that corner is because when you raise the flap there to flush it, that the dye will actually rush down that particular what do you call a flapper. So if you put it in the other two corners, it won't, there will be obstruction and it won't rush down that flapper as easy as far as the access. So let me show you right now. I'm going to flush. and actually the water the water didn't rush down all that much. You know, even though the blue dye is, you know, pretty much still there, you know, a lot of it did stick in that corner. So that's kind of how it gradually melts. So this is basically kind of like a time dissolved sort of formula there. But as you can see, you know, it is, you know, still slightly blue. Now in the beginning, when it first starts, it actually does get a lot darker. So your first 5 flushes is really dark because of how much it actually dissolves, whereas the subsequent flushes are not as dark. So just keep that in mind. I think it is worth trying, you know, 1 tablet or so, and you know, you can test it out in your own home. It really does depend on, you know, how much humidity or how much aeration and whether your bathroom has a window or not. You know, that, you know, some of the grime, you know, builds up. So, all right, that's really what I want to show. I hope this helps, and please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you know, definitely ask me in the comment area, and thanks for watching again, and have a great day.